and welcome to the Golden Road TV and sometimes a radio show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. We got a great show for you as we start to kind of early enter towards spring. Again, Golden Road is committed to bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow. And we also like to start our show and keep things in a bigger context and do a land acknowledgement for the Nisenan people that are the traditional people of this area known as Nevada City. And also, we want to thank our whole team for being here. But let's get right into it. Over the last few years, except over the last year because of the shelter in place and the COVID and quarantining, I had the honor to play a lot of music with our next guest here. And I'm happy he's here to share some of his amazing spirit and music here on the show. He's also an incredible architect and just an all-around great being. I'd like to introduce my friend and brother and our musician for arts and culture tonight, Mr. Peter D. Mate. Take it away, Peter.
Thank you, Michael. Here's a song I wrote. Well, it's sort of a work in progress, all my life, but here it goes.
All right, and we're going to ask Peter to hang out for another brief performance later on in the show. And I do want to say that, it's difficult doing these live broadcasts because none of the music that we perform can actually be copyrighted music or music from other artists. So all the music you're hearing tonight is actually original music that Peter D. Mate composed. So that was what, Dance Michelle, correct? Dance Michelle, an original piece of music by Mr. Peter D. Mate. So let's do this. I'm going to invite our next guest up, but before we do that, let's go over to one of our little theme songs for Golden Road with Mr. Michael Shapiro, and we'll be back in 60 seconds with our in-studio guest, so stay tuned.
intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology, paving the road for positive social change.
It's the Golden Road TV show. It's the Golden Road TV show.
And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. We're going to incorporate more and more music and art and culture into the show. But that was a piece of music, one of our 4 theme songs done by Mr. Michael Shapiro. And again, I want to thank Mr. Peter DiMattei for a great performance. He'll be back performing some Latin and classical inspired music. So my next guest is another person who is just an amazing being, very gifted visionary artist, filmmaker, creator of books and lots of content. He's traveled all over the world, and we have the benefit of now having him as one of the residents here in the Collaboratory as part of the Resilience Hub, Nevada City. Nice round of applause. We'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Davin Infinity. So welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Great. I like the pendant.
Thank you.
We're growing wings.
Yeah, well, I knew it was going to be Fashion Week here at the Hub. Yeah.
So I know you've been on the show, and we're going to see a little bit of some of your work in a minute. But can you tell us a little bit about you in the past had a creative energy agency, and you do a lot of things. So just before we get into the presentation that you prepared, give us a little insight about yourself and your work and some of your world travels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Creative Energy Agency will be plugged into the presentation because what I wanted to share around arts and culture and lifestyle design was to inspire people to design their life and how their career, their lifelong education, world travel, being an entrepreneur, a self-starter, as well as a collaborator and giving back to social activism, how they can all be tied in together. And I actually have 20 years of experience of doing that. And so that's what I'm about to share.
And what are some of the places? I know you're always off on these incredible adventures around the world. What are some of the places and events that have been really memorable for you?
The most memorable are a lot of spots of ancient culture. The 13 temples along the Nile that represented the mystery school, and places like Damanhur in Italy and Oroville in India, which take a lot of lineages from the Vedic sciences or the ancient Egyptian and the Pythagorean and King Solomon, these mystery schools, and they weaved them into permaculture, eco-village design, education, and also, I am a futurist, trained as a futurist professionally, and so I love going to cities like Seoul, Korea, Singapore, Tokyo, growing up in San Francisco, and seeing what I call the cities of the future, which embody entrepreneurship, technology, and social activism in the sense of freedom, liberty for all people.
And you're obviously someone who walks your talk. So why don't you walk us through this presentation that you put together, and we can share a little bit of your work with our viewing audience.
Okay, awesome. Well, you're about to see probably around 12 different slides, and what they are based on is a 20-year project called Life Quest, The Adventure of Purpose. And what I did was I had an epiphany and a mind-blowing experience 25 years ago at the age of 19. And I was
with or without psychoactive substances.
Well, we'll get into that.
Okay,
Wouldn't you
all right,
like to
good.
know, mister?
It's a very juicy subject
So,
these days, plant medicine.
I did a double major. Yep, I did a double major in college with focus on communication design, multimedia art, and storytelling. And I started traveling. My mom was a flight attendant for United her whole life, 50 years. And so I started traveling to 55 countries now, planting these star tetrahedrons that you're seeing up here. And the Merkaba, or the star tetrahedron, represents torsion physics. And I put them in different power spots and ancient cultures. And during this time, I also mapped out the ancient and future journey of humanity through geography, through ancient cultures, and working with different people, I was able to continue working on paid projects, going to different spots while creating and photographing and collaging these different digital stories. And so in that time, I've worked on over 1,000 projects paid and 10,000 of my own original pieces. So photography, collage, digital art, films, which you're seeing here, graphic novels. I've created a collage based on each country I've gone to that represents the ancient and the future of the country. So here you're looking at one based on China and the ancient Taoist wisdom and the modern day Communist Party. I've been initiated into several mystery schools and lineages of shamanism and tried over 30 different plant medicines, entheogens, and psychoactive nootropics, which is the future of how the brain science and the divine mathematics that Pythagoras studied is being put into the modern day nootropics, which is known as a pharmacology of biohacking or lifestyle design. Flow states tie into that. So it's the science of mind, body, brain, chemistry, and how it relates to your embodiment and the techniques you embody each day and you practice each day.
Right. So do you find for yourself right now, obviously you're working in a lot of different areas, what tends to be the unifying theme that inspires you for these travels and obviously to commit thousands of hours and really your life force into creating this content? What is the big ethos or unifying theme for you?
Well, a lot of it, as you saw in the subtitle, The Adventure of Purpose. There's this idea of questing or gamifying your life, up-leveling. There's a lot of terms we see in the superhero films and in comic books and in the game world, board games, video games, and now gamification in the corporate world and in the activism world. And so for me, the adventure of purpose is I dedicated myself to lifelong learning, committed to the planet, guardianship, regeneration, permaculture, as well as collaboration, while ascending my own journey into ascension and learning about myself and having multiple lifetimes of memories being activated in different spots around the world. And so to be
so you're really
in
a
divine
modern
service
you're
is
a modern Jedi.
yeah. Well, as we've talked about, Jedi is the Jed pillar, and they were the guardians of the temple, and they related to Egypt, and they were later found in Persia and Greece. And it's spelled a little bit differently, but George Lucas broke down the term and gamified it into Star Wars as the Jedi Guardians,
Right.
using the Force. And all of those are documented in ancient cultures.
So in the last minute we have, I want to get to this, and I'm really excited because we have Voices of Water, a World Water Day weekend that's coming up on March 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I know you'll be contributing some film and content to that. If you want more information about that, just go to voicesofwater.com. It's a whole weekend of live performances, speakers, films, and also roundtables and forum presentations of people who are working in the area of really our most essential and precious resource of water. And of course, air is highly up there too. But in a world where we can have so many different ways to put our attention and we can get kind of distracted and fractaled out, we're really committing the next year, starting on spring equinox, to focus our attention on the essence of water and water as a source of life, not just a resource or a commodity as recently brokered on the New York Stock Exchange. So in the last minute that we have, and I know that your media really speaks volumes about yourself, and since you are a global traveler and nomad and Jedi and visionary artist, can you leave our audience with maybe a little bit of some words of wisdom of maybe to help them unlock their inner Jedi or to tap into their creativity?
Yeah, well, I'll just give them the easiest advice to give them a little, homework for the conference, which is study water. Study the work of Victor Schauberger, study the ancient cultures that that prayed and sung songs of wisdom, or the modern inventors that are using water technology. Also relates to the ancient mystery schools of the Divine Feminine, which I've got to work on 75 projects with the Divine Feminine. It's a creative director, films like Divine Nectar. And I've also been working on these films while swimming in over probably 700 of the most sacred bodies of water, from Lake Atitlan in Guatemala to parts of the Caribbean, to the freshest water lakes, and understanding how Niles and deltas all connect to the fresh water, and the salt water connect to the species, and how dolphins and other intelligent species have informed humanity about the five elements. And being a Taoist practicing that ancient art, you work a lot with water, whether it's in Qigong or Tai Chi.
And the amazing thing is water, I'm finding, is the one thing, even though it's being commodified, that we can't over politicize, because who doesn't want clean water for ourselves, for our families, for our pets? Many people in this area also have livestock. They have farms, organic farms, and do agriculture. So we're really diving into water this year, because it seems to be something that can help unify people in a time of so much political division and religious partisanship, that, again, this is a way to kind of connect people and really simplify to find one thing we can all find common ground on. So,
absolutely. I would like to add to that. When I lived in Bali for 3 months, I was blown away by the sacred practices and the water temples and all of these offerings they make throughout the day. And yet at the same time, there is garbage everywhere in the villages, not in the tourist zones, but in the villages. And so I asked a few friends who had been living there, and basically the Balinese people, up until about 20 years ago, everything they made, all the meals, were wrapped in different plants and leaves and bamboo plates. They didn't know what plastic and other things, meaning they didn't have a comprehension of the idea of plastic doesn't break down. So they were used to throwing banana or bamboo leaf into after they ate, or recycling or composting it. And so there's trash everywhere in the villages and in the rivers and creeks, because they had no awareness that that is actually a toxin, and you can't just throw it and it's not absorbed by earth. So there was a level of awareness that had to be taught to the Balinese people, who had one of the deepest, profound understandings of earth and the energy and the primal forces, but yet they could not comprehend these modern day, consume and trash culture. So that was profound.
That's something we've really lost, this understanding of the simplicity of traditional ecological knowledge. We're even seeing it now with the spread of wildfires, the need to be more aware about emergency preparedness, what's happening with flooding along coastal cities. So again, this is a huge topic. So we're going to stop there, because we have a few more guests to come on. And I want to thank our sponsor tonight for the set. I want to thank KT and Giselle for helping to work with Sunchild, who, no, we're not here necessarily doing a fashion show, but we're sharing some of the great wares that they have at Sunchild, offering all sorts of great vintage clothing. So thank you for helping to design our set. We're very committed to bringing you a different set and environment and a sponsor every week with that. So again, thank you so much, Giselle and KT and Sunchild. So on that, why don't we take a little musical break? We're going to go to another piece of music by Michael Shapiro, another one of our theme songs. And after that, we're going to have our gift of health section of the show with Horacio Roa with Holistic Eye coming up in just about 60 seconds. So lots more show. Stay tuned. While you're watching, subscribe, like, and please share the broadcast with others. And we'll be back in just a half a minute.
It's a golden road TV show. Yes, it's a golden road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. Welcome to the Golden Road TV show. If you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. And again, just acknowledging we have another set here tonight, not your typical set, but we're kind of showcasing some of the great vintage wear from Sunchild, located in Grass Valley. Well, my next guest comes traditionally and historically from South America. We actually have a couple amazing folks who have been doing work in that region, but we have the benefit of having him in our community now. His organization is called Holistic Eye, and he works a lot with natural medicine and healing and does many things. Every time he's on the show, I learn something else about this incredible gentleman. But I would like to welcome to the show, and a nice round of applause, please, for Horacio Roa.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Again, you're stealing the show. You look so amazing, fashionable. You just came from work, or where are you coming
Well,
from?
you know, the present is not a game. The present is always the same. I am like that. See, that means thank you for the compliment.
Yes, absolutely. So I know you've been doing a lot of things around natural medicine. So maybe just in a minute we can give people a little background, because we want to talk about this exciting new webinar series that you and your wife Maria started, and kind of help get people plugged into what you're doing around food. But yeah, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. It's very nice to be here in this program. I see many activists, which is, I consider myself, I am one of them. Since my young days, I want to change myself and change this world, and I understand this is the way to actually to do the revolution is first work on yourself. I coming from Paraguayan family. My grandfather was a healer, a shaman. My mother was also a Catholic healer. I studied nutrition and chemist and Chinese medicine. And I practice holistic medicine since my 25. I am 59. And my mission is try to educate. Education is actually the only way we can really become free and become independent. And I understand work in the way of change myself. Then,
And I think what's interesting too, you have a very grounded academic background, but you also come from a culture, a family, and traditions of healing that might not be necessarily based on techniques of Western medicine, and you incorporate a lot of these into your work, correct?
something to understand, and I did from my family, is about feelings and perceptions. Is humans, we have emotional intelligence and we can feel what's going on. Then the academic training, chemist or medicine or Chinese medicine, is information. Then I have a clear difference between being and information. It's a different things to read how you can make a shoes and be a shoemaker.
Well, it's very interesting because, like you said, there's information, and we live here in the United States in a culture where there's like information saturation. And every day I meet people who are just overwhelmed, not only with just their life and the things they're trying to administrate in their life, but even if we look towards media, the number of shows and options for media on, all the individual platforms that are coming out, the Amazon Primes and the Netflix and the HBOs. And in a way, it really kind of distracts people from dropping into being in the here and now and being present. And it kind of is constantly taking our consciousness outside of ourselves. So I know in Buddhist and many of these traditions, there's the awareness of, like you said, there's information, but the idea is to take that information and turn it into knowledge and wisdom where it becomes actualized and part of our awareness of who we are.
It's very interesting. The more important information is free. The sunlight is information. The air is information. The food is information. And actually, my course is about food-like information. And we need to think about why I need to get educated, which is my purpose, why I want to know things. Then I want to know and I want to get educated because I want to be free. But freedom means to be outside free. Free means to be free of your own brain. Free means to be free of your own programming. Free means free of your own fears and your own laziness, which is actually laziness is the root of fears. No?
And I know we talked a couple weeks ago about the idea of discipline and habits. I think tonight we're going to focus a little bit about, I believe you brought a video, and we're going to ask Tara to cue that up in a minute, but you're doing a lot of work around nutrition, and you just launched a seminar series. Can you talk a little bit about that before we go to the video?
Nutrition is one of the branches of a holistic approach. We have different branches because when you get sick at least for 3 or 4 reasons. Then one symptom have 3 or 4 reasons. Then I choose nutrition when I was young because I consider if you can manage in your food, you can control your life. I understand if you cooking and you choose your diet, you are on control. Then you don't need it from others, and you are not on control of the market. You are not on control of the ideas of others, and you can actually be very intentional who you become, because you become what you eat.
So let's go over to Atar. Are we ready? Let's go over to the video now, and we're going to watch a little bit about some of your work. And what are we going to see here before we start?
Here is food-like information, and it's 6 hours training for beginners, for people who want to have control, independence, and freedom. Food is how you can grip it, actually, and I share knowledge how you can healing yourself, transforming food in remedies.
Great. Well, let's give it a watch, and we'll be back in just a minute with a little more discourse. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go over to a musical interlude, and we'll come back in a second with some of the video. And we have 2 more guests coming up. And stay tuned, lots more show. We got about another 35 minutes left, so lots more happening here on the Golden Road TV show. So another piece of music and segue with Mr. Michael Shapiro.
It's the Golden Road TV show. It's the Golden Road TV show. Well, listen once, listen twice. Oh, won't you please take my advice? It's the Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. Wow, so much show. That was a great video, and that was produced by you and your wife, Maria
Correct.
Luisa.
Yes, it was very interesting work to put together 7 hours of. Actually, I started to cook when I was 10 years old, and I started to cook because I was disagree with my mother cook, but my mother was actually who taught me to cook. Then I became microbiotic and nutritionist, and the degree I have actually is to transform food in medicines.
Right.
The work is actually interaction, try to show to people the lost link of health, and I would consider the lost link of health here in the West is cooking. I don't want to dirt my kitchen, I don't want to clean my dishes, I don't want to expend time. I want to save time, and I want to save time for look at stupid movies, and I don't want to expend time.
Well, there's an old saying,
For
we're not just
cooking.
what we eat, we're what we actually digest. And doing a lot of research around water and community resilience, we find actually a lot of our soil has been so depleted, it doesn't actually have the minerals and nutritional value to create nutritious food anymore. Here in Nevada County, we have some issues with from the legacy of mining, of water contamination and other things. So it's a lost art, but it also plays into being an essential piece as far as our own personal health and our environment. So before we finish, we have about a half a minute left. Can we give people the website and how they can actually register and get involved in the nutrition seminar?
Yes, holisticeye.com, and you only need to send a request for the seminar. It's very easy. Or contact to us through email, and we can send to you the link.
Great. And I want to also mention that now there's a published book. I saw a little bit of the 80 or 90 page book. So again, round of applause for Maria Luisa and Horacio Roa with Holistic Eye. Great. So we're going to take another musical interlude as we bring up our next guest. She's another really champion here in the community that does a lot of work around emergency preparedness and animals, and just really another hero, another rock star here in our community who does a lot of great work to benefit not only the community, but also for those that we overlook, our animals, our pets, our livestock. So coming up in just a minute, we'll have Pat up, and we're going to have another musical segue with Mike Shapiro, and we'll be back about another 30 minutes of show. So again, here's a little segue theme song, and we'll be back in just about a half a minute. Thanks for watching.
It's a Golden Road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology.
It's a Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. Thanks for watching the Golden Road TV show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. We're actually on our 4th year of broadcasting now. We've done actually over 100 two-hour broadcasts all throughout the region from places like Mount Shasta, Redding, Sacramento, Chico. We actually did a special broadcast up in Paradise after the horrific fire. And really, a lot of California has really been suffering through these fires. Part of it is because of some of the mismanagement of forests, and we're starting to look now towards indigenous practices, traditional ecological knowledge. We're working a lot now with Firewise communities and Nevada County emergency preparedness to try to figure out how we can manage our natural environment to be not only more prepared, but to reduce the devastating impact of what happens when these wildfires or different events happen. So I'd like to welcome my next guest, Pat Ehlers. And I'm going to read this, Pat, because it's a long name, from the Nevada County Veterinary Disaster Response Team.
Right.
And welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us a little bit about what your organization does.
If we want to put it in a nutshell, we're the Red Cross for animals. We mobilized when the fire. Give you an example. We helped with Paradise. We went over there and helped there as instant volunteers. But with the last fire, Jones Fire, we took in over 400 animals, fed them, water them, medicate them. We had vets there checking them out. And then they get to go home with their owners or their mom and dads, whichever the case may be.
Wow, that sounds like a huge logistical nightmare.
It is.
So, in your organization, you obviously have other people that are working part of your team.
We have over 60 people that volunteer with our team. We have specialists in horses. We have specialists in pigs, llamas. We don't have chicken specialists yet.
They're hard to catch, too. I mean, trying to catch a chicken, right?
Well, we had about 20 chickens for the Jones Fire.
Wow.
And we had 10 tortoises.
And you were one of the places you were staged was at Nevada County Fairgrounds?
We stage, if it's safe, we will stage at the Nevada County Fairgrounds, yes.
So, on a more personal note, how did you get interested and involved in this really essential work?
I'm a retired RVT. I started working at the 49er Fire, and that's clear back in '88, as a triage nurse. So I would do all the triaging and let the coordinator know at that time. The 97 Fire, I took over as coordinator, and from there it just shot up working with all the animals in Nevada County and the people of Nevada County.
Right. So, you're really at the front lines of disaster relief. And I know, and part of this show over the years, we focus more on the topic of community resilience, which is not just food and water security, but also the idea of emergency preparedness, and also working with a lot of the different aspects of the decision makers and the nonprofit organizations that are really the bedrock of this community. I mean, in Nevada County alone, we have over 300 not-profit organizations. So right now you're involved in kind of upgrading your infrastructure. We kind of are going through winter. It's getting hot quick. So we're not at the peak of fire season, but nonetheless, it's something that
We've
people
had
have
fires
to...
every single day.
Oh, we have?
We have had fires, and I've been alerted on the fires, and we've watched them and monitored them.
All through the winter?
Well, it happened just this last couple weeks.
Wow.
We started having the fires on a regular basis. Most of them are escape debris burns. And that's what the problem is that people think it's wet enough that it's safe to do burning, and then a breeze pick up, and then goes hot amber, and then we end up with a fire.
Wow, that's... So what are some of the things you're doing right now in preparation for this next, let's say, expanded potential of fires?
We're gearing up for a fire and to mobilize, and at any time we're trying to get a new trailer, mobilization trailer, because ours is falling down around our ears. And so the teams are going to classes. Our horse teams are taking obstacle courses to make sure they can back up their trailers. The security teams are revving up for making the ground safe, because of the simple fact that we're not just for us to be safe, but for the animals that are coming into our care to be safe. It's extremely important. And then our small animal and large animal people are gearing up and fine-tuning everything, because each time we mobilize, we learn something new. And I've been doing this since '88, so.
And every situation, I'm sure, is uniquely different. Exactly.
Well, the wind complex was right there on McCourtney.
Wow.
So
Did
we
that
had to
impact
do.
you directly?
Yeah, we were at the fairgrounds, and the fire was right across the road.
So this is a volunteer organization?
Yes, all volunteers.
So we'll do it again at the end of the interview, but if people this is kind of inspiring them to action, how can they get in touch with you or maybe get involved in helping to support this effort?
I'm on Facebook. Our team is on Facebook, so if you have any questions, by all means, my email is rn4animals@aol.com, and I'm happy to answer any emails that come to me. So, and you can contact me through Facebook on our Facebook page, Nevada County Veterinary Disaster Response Team. So don't hesitate to ask questions. We're having an orientation to join our team April 3rd. So we're happy for anyone that might want to join the wonderful people that work this out.
Yeah, there must be an extensive level of training just to get people to get to the position of being able to support this work, but not just support it, but to be able to navigate all the logistics of dealing with the animals, of being potentially at the front lines or close to the firewall, and to really not become a liability, but to really be an asset. So that's what part of this training is about.
The orientation is to know basically what we do, how we work with the officials, because we work with animal control, we work with the county, we work with the sheriff, we work with CAL FIRE. So we work with all these agencies. So they learn how to deal with these agencies. Then they learn the individual jobs. The only specialist jobs are the horse trailers, and they have to go through a lot of training before they can help animal control get a horse across the fire lines.
Well, great. I actually, for about a year and a half, I was part of Nevada County Emergency Preparedness. That was when it was under the supervision of John Gulsarian.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he retired and it went to Sheriff Pettit.
Uh-huh.
Who is he still in charge, or who's in charge now of that organization?
OES has a different leader now, and
Okay.
I forgot his name because I don't deal with him right now.
Okay.
I deal with animal control. So, and then Lieutenant Jacob, he every once in a while emails me in the sheriff department. So
Well, we've also had some of the lieutenants and heads of CAL FIRE on the show talking about how to be fire-wise and
Yes.
also some of the things that they're doing and how people can support them, because in this day and age, we can see so much of our infrastructure, we depend on our local agencies, our government agencies, our nonprofits, and sometimes the amount of burden and responsibility that they have can be mind-boggling. So we're always committed to the show to help empower our audience, to inspire people to become an active part of the solution and to be involved in our community and to find what inspires you and what your passion is and to contribute on some level, because we can't just always think, well, someone else is going to do that.
That's true.
So to finish with, let's give your website and email, and if you want to share your phone number so people can reach out to you. And I want to encourage you, this is a most honorable cause, and I'm a animal owner myself. I've tried horses. They were a lot of work, but nonetheless, they're kind of the sometimes overlooked and marginalized as part of these plans. So thank you for your great work. And how do we get hold of you?
Again, Facebook is one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me with Nevada County Veterinary Disaster Response Team. And I've forgotten our web page. We do have a web page, so you can look under Nevada County Veterinary Disaster Response Team. So you can get a hold of me either way of that. We will help teach you how to prepare for an evacuation. It's not just something you throw together when the fire's knocking on your door. So you have to prepare for you and your animals, because it doesn't help. Paradise proved that. People were unprepared and they left with nothing. Even my grandson had to leave with nothing.
Oh, geez. I know some folks who lost their homes and others. So that means prepare, have your go bag ready, have your plan. I want to thank you for being on the show and for the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so another nice round of applause for Pat and the work she does. I do want to thank our production team tonight. Tara Kelly is doing the switching and all the things that you're seeing. She's helping to pipeline and organize and switch. I also want to thank Ted Henwood for being our floor director and monitoring the sound. Also KT and Giselle for helping with set design. And really all the elements that go into making this show happen. It doesn't just mysteriously appear. So thank you so much. If you want, during the next 15 minutes of the show or in the past, you can always comment. We are monitoring YouTube. If you have a question, we do want to be interactive. We don't want to just be more talking heads saturating the information field with more stuff. We're trying to help create connectivity in our community, in our bioregion here in Nevada County. So thanks for watching. We're going to go over to another segue, and then after that, we're going to have up Mara Tooley and Steve Nathan, and that'll about bring us to the end of the show in about 15 to 20 minutes. So stay tuned. A little bit more music from Michael Shapiro and some discussion with Mara Tooley, just back from the land of the condor of South America. Thank you.
It's a Golden Road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology.
It's a Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. Thanks for tuning into the Golden Road TV show and sometimes a radio show on some of the local stations like KVMR, KNCO, KAHI, also on KFOI in Reading, sometimes on KZSC in Chico. So I'd like to introduce my next guest. She actually is just freshly back from Peru, still glowing and omniscient. Nice round of applause from Weaving Worlds, Mara Tooley.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Right. So you were just down in Peru and you were doing?
Yeah, I was down in Peru and I was actually participating in a Sundance led by Native Americans, Lakota and Dakota elders here from the States. And we're actually working in the medicine community, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor coming together, meaning nations of the North really weaving and praying with nations of the South to create a cultural evolution in terms of medicine and just people coming together and sharing their forms of prayer. So it was very special for me to do such an offering and to be able to fast and to really honor my ancestors, and more than anything to put a prayer down, you know, for Mother Earth, for the people of the planet right now, for my own personal, you know, missions and goals. Most importantly, though, I think right now, especially in the times that we're in where they've really cut us from gathering and being together, it's important to come together in the power of a group in prayer, because that really magnifies our voice and our energy and what we want to connect to with Mother Earth.
Absolutely, and it's great because we're talking a little bit. We had earlier on our show from Paraguay, of course, Horacio Roa, which I understand you're working with now and very much involved in bridging traditional knowledge along with modern and traditional medicine. And we've also talked a little bit about the whole connection of North and South America. So here you are.
Yeah,
right?
here I am.
Perfect segue. We
Yeah.
can't even design that. So
Yeah, thank you.
let's do this. I really want to dive in deep to what
Yeah.
you want to share about your experience. But before we do that, we're going to finish an interview that we did, which is going to now be a presentation by Steve Nathan. This is going to be another initiation point of Why in the World. This is a series that Steve's going to actually be starting up, where he actually answers a lot of the questions that we might have about various issues in our community. So we're going to go over to the podium now and to Mr. Steve Nathan from Strategic Campaigns with another presentation of Why in the World. So nice round of applause for Mr. Steve Nathan.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having me back. I really appreciate the chance to start asking some of the questions. As we talked about, we're looking at doing a segment called Why in the World. and this is something I've been thinking about for some time and we've been speaking about. And it's just, there are so many things going on in the world today, and I listen to the guests that you have and how we're looking to improve our resilience and our regenerative capabilities and just being able to actually function as a society in the world that's regenerative and keeping people moving forward. I believe that there are issues that we as Americans have to keep addressing, and it seems we keep getting distracted by media and drama that keeps getting put out there, shiny objects for us to keep fighting with one another instead of focusing on the issues that I believe are most important to us. And maybe it's time to ask, who would want to keep us from focusing on the things that matter? And who are those people? And why would they want to do this? So let's take a step back. Let's look at a macro view and let's imagine what we might be able to do so that we can start moving the world forward and see some of the missings so that we can address them and that we can create solutions. Let's start with the fact that our government has failed us in so many ways and on so many levels. There are things that people tell me that they feel hopeless, that they don't think they can change what's happened, that it's gotten past being able to recover from. And I believe that that's not the case. We have the power of the vote. And if we stop listening to all the drama and just focus on the things that really matter to all of us, let's solve those problems. We have the brain power to do this. And that's what I believe we should be focusing on. What are those issues? The way I see them, I believe every American citizen should have a home, land, clean water, electricity, access to the internet, educational opportunities, and most important, health care. This is something that I've had people argue with me over this. What it really comes down to is it's not socialism, it's not communism, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If these needs are met and all these things are something that all American citizens have, I believe that our thought patterns come from a very different place. And we have the ability to then become true world leaders, not by exerting military force, but by showing what we can do, how we can solve our problems, not telling people what to do, but by saying, this is what we did. This is how we did it. This is how you can do it too. Can we help you? I believe that we've forgotten how we became the most powerful country in the world. And part of that is because history is being rewritten. It doesn't reflect accurately what happened. I also believe we've forgotten what America is as a concept and who we are as Americans, not just to us, but to the rest of the world, how they see us. We've lost all of this, and it's time to get it back. We have the ability to be the most powerful country on earth, not by making sure that we're all doing sustainable things, by making sure we all succeed when we all succeed. So last week we were discussing infrastructure and how it failed spectacularly in Texas for the people of Texas. And to be honest, infrastructure's been failing all of us throughout the country in various ways and at different places and times. Just another example of how our government has failed us, because infrastructure is something that we should continually be doing. You don't just build something and then leave it be to let it fall apart. You have to keep going. Times change, we need to modernize, upgrade, and I believe that infrastructure is not just bridges, roads, and tunnels. It's our electrical grid. It's our airports, seaports, railroads, how we build towns and communities now. With all the fires that we've had, with all the floods that we've had, are we going to build back the same way, or are we going to show that we can actually learn from these things? And I listen to your guests, and so many people are trying to do this, but there aren't coordinated efforts. And as a result, I believe we've got people running in different directions, and we have to generate coherence. Let's look at priorities. Let's look at what we have to do first, what's going to impact all of us, so that we get the things that we need, and let's solve all these problems. Now, the question is, can government, once I learned that government can pull $2 trillion out of wherever, why not pull more? Let's make an investment in our infrastructure. Let's divide the country into 6 different areas. Let's put $2 trillion into each. Nothing creates anything that return on investment that infrastructure does. For every job that we create in infrastructure, 5 jobs outside of it are created. I intend to ask questions, hence the why in the world title of what we're doing. These conversations aren't going to be handled in traditional ways. I do not want to get into the political aspects of it. I want to simply get into how can we find solutions? What can we do? And I expect to hold space for solutions, not diatribes. If you think you can help move the conversation forward, please feel free to share, invite your friends, comment, invite others to the conversation. Let's change the world. We can do better.
Voices of video.
The theme of World Water Day 2021 is valuing water. Water is source, essential to life on planet Earth. We have a powerful connection to water. It's a connection we're born with, but often forget when we grow up. Recreational, cultural, and spiritual. Water has many meanings and many stories to different people. If we overlook the value of water, we risk mismanaging this finite, irreplaceable source. We invite you to share your story and join the Voices of Water.
And we're back. And again, a nice round of applause for Mr. Steve Nathan. Why in the world? Some very, very essential questions that we can all actually roundtable and talk about. And really, this is not a new concept. It's really based on an indigenous model of when they would counsel and people would get together. They would actually involve the children, but they would also involve the elders. So on that note, I want to reintroduce our guest tonight. Again, just back from Peru, from Weaving Worlds, Marituli Mejia. So welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
So, we're going to hopefully have you on the show periodically throughout the spring and summer, and I know you're doing a lot of exciting projects. Tell us a little bit about your organization, Weaving Worlds.
So Weaving World is a nonprofit organization that I co-founded about 6 years ago with a group of other activists, philanthropists, and holistic healers. And our goal is really to bring different cultures and bridge different communities, ancestral wisdom, ecological advances and nutrition all into one, with one of the main pillars being ancestral wisdom, because amongst us all, we have everything and we have the knowledge that we need to start kind of sharing between communities and cultures that some of us have more of and then other of us have less of. So we've been establishing different projects and transcultural beehives all around the world to really empower communities to have resilient communities themselves. Like Horacio was saying earlier, you know, the more information and education and knowledge people have, the more empowered they are to be able to be resilient. The more empowered our peers are around the world, the more empowered we are. We're as strong as our weakest link, and so the more information we share, the better it is for the rest of us. So Weaving Worlds has been focusing around the world to enact different projects, and you know, I myself am a pioneer for Mother Earth and a universal seed guardian. I just started a new seed bank in Peru, and actually Horacio and I are working now. We're going to be sharing some of his food seminar with some impoverished communities there. And we're going to sponsor an event where people from the community can come, and we're going to have a Zoom class, and they're going to interact with him, and he's going to give them some basics on nutrition. You know, it's important.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really great trip. It's so important because, you know, down there, they're so rich in the ancestral wisdom and the culture and the knowledge. And part of, you know, what our other brother was talking about, there's just still a lack of understanding sometimes on some other topics, for example, like nutrition.
And they're not, I mean, when I was there in Brazil and Paraguay and Uruguay, they're not yet fully invaded by the fast food concept where you can just go on any street corner and get food and drink served up quickly. I know a lot of these cultures still have some of these original seeds intact that are not GMO, genetically modified plants and foods. A lot of times actually having their nutrients completely stripped out of them. So they still have the benefit of not being so far down the rabbit hole and addicted to the convenience that a lot of people here are in North America. So that's super exciting to hear that you're actually building that bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really exciting for us as well. And we're working with specific elders that I was there with at Sundance, and then elders that I've interacted with before, actually through other groups of elders in Mexico. And while I was there, actually in honor of Voices of Water, we did an offering to the water. Some of the elders I was working with, they really wanted to put a prayer for the water. So we did a mesa, and, you know, the women came together and they said a prayer for the water, and we offered it to Mamacocha, which is the spirit of the ocean in particular. So it was really important, and they're really excited. I think the prophecy of the eagle of the condor and the Hopi prophecy are prophecies that have been kind of around for a while that people know are coming. It's the rainbow people coming together to act as one. And so the South, the spirit of the condor, is really excited to merge with the spirit of the North as the eagle and the condor fly back together.
Well, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Absolutely.
And now is the time we're waiting for.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
As much work as it is and a labor of love, that's why we're doing this show, Golden Road, to help inspire you to action, to advocacy, and maybe to some level of activism around taking responsibility for ourselves, our spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional body, to help inspire others, but to also to begin to work collaboratively. And there's such huge issues like Pat was talking about, emergency preparedness. We're also looking at a lot of issues around food and water security. And this is something that really came to light over the last year around COVID, where people are trying to go to stores and get what they would consider basic essentials and not having them available. So we're really in this time of accelerated change. The Hopis say we're in Koyaanisqatsi, it's the world out of balance. We're in a time of many earth changes, and this idea of spiritually unifying beyond our differences, like Steve Nathan was talking about, and all those things that can distract us and keep us apart, is absolutely foundational to the time that we're in. I know we can go a lot down the rabbit hole. We're almost out of time. We're going to have you back, but how can people get in touch with you and find more about Weaving Worlds?
So you can get in touch with us. We have a website, weavingworlds.org, and you can contact us through there. We also have an email, weavingworldsteam@gmail.com. And other than that, we have an Instagram and a Facebook page that you can also link through our website. And we encourage anyone who has any projects that are involved in social justice or regenerative, solutions for the planet to contact us, so that we can maybe reach out and see how we can contribute or help support your community so that we can keep building a great team together.
Well, I want to definitely connect you with my friends at Lotus Guide Magazine. They've been doing a whole series on regenerative agriculture. We talked a little bit about how soil's depleted. So remind me, I want to connect you with them. And they just did a great spot and promotion for KT Harris, who's been helping with SET to promote her Sacred Space Quantum Healing Center, where she's actually working with sound and vibration as a form of medicine. So many things happening. It's hard to stuff it all into an hour and a few minutes. So thank you for watching tonight. Please share the show. We're not here just to contribute to the din of information, but to really bring people to the awareness of our community and our region about what they're doing, and again, inspire you to become an active part of this incredible transformation that's happening on the earth right now. So thank you so much. We want to thank Sunchild, again, Ted Henwood, our floor director, Tara Kelly, doing our technical operations with Wirecast at the head end and doing the switching, KT and Giselle for set design. We want to also nice round of applause for Mr. Peter DiMattei. It sounded so good. It was inspiring. So we're gonna have you back. We'll do a Hands of Fire show maybe sometime on the air. And of course, for all of you for joining in, all of our guests, Maratuli, Steve Nathan, Davin Infinity, and Pat, and all the people that actually showed up. And that's a big part of what's happening right now. We can talk about it. We can think about it. We can remain in the visionary, hypothetical world, but now is the time to actually follow through and do it. And I want to encourage you, find the one thing that inspires you, the maybe two things that inspire you, wear that hat, focus, cultivate that seed, and to let the things that are not serving you anymore, to cultivate them out of your garden and to go with what works. So thank you so much for watching the Golden Road TV show. Again, the opinions and thoughts expressed on this show does not reflect the opinions and thoughts of everybody. I think it's obvious, but we do want to say that. And again, we want to acknowledge the Nisenan, whose land we're on, the indigenous traditional people of this area of Nevada City, for joining us tonight on Golden Road. And we'll take you out with some credits, and we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Same time here on YouTube.
Follow the golden road, follow the golden road, follow, 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 follow the golden road. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show. You'll find it is a whiz of a show, if ever a show there was. It's arts and culture and history, environment, health, technology, and peace and justice, science, just because of the meaningful things it does. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show.